If you're learning English, you've probably heard this advice before. Think in English and don't translate. But how exactly do you do that? Today, I'm gonna break down why thinking in English is so important in your learning process. And most importantly, I'm gonna show you how to train your brain to think in English. And I'm gonna come up with some solutions and tools that you can use to directly think in English. Guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kaman. If you're new here, please subscribe and like this video. By doing this, you're gonna help me a lot. So let's start with the first question. Why should you think in English? Why you should stop translating from your mother tongue, from your native language, into English? Translating from your mother tongue into English is such a big deal. But why is that? Because when you think in your native language and then translate it into English, it slows you down, right? You're constantly switching between two languages. You're making sentences and patterns in your native language in your mind, and then you translate it into your English. To be honest, it's exhausting, isn't it? Because you end up pausing, making mistakes, and you become less confident gradually. But when you start thinking in English, your brain gets used to the flow of the language. And as a result, you'll speak faster, more naturally, and with fewer mistakes. It helps you immerse yourself in the language, in the English language. And even if you're not living in an English-speaking country. But come on, how can I think in English and not my native language? Let me tell you this. You must start small. Start with labeling your surroundings. You don't really have to think in full sentences right away. You should start small, and you should start with small things, little things around you. So, look around your room or wherever you are right now. How many objects can you name in English? Thinking, oh, this is a maze. Maze. You have to think, this is a table. Instead of thinking, this is a doorbin, in my native language, we call camera doorbin. This is not a doorbin. This is camera. By this, you're training your brain to think in English, and you're starting with with little things around you. And it's not that hard, You can start it right away. Let me give you a pro tip here. You can use different applications like Quizlet, Memrise, and you can test your vocabulary for everyday objects, for objects that are around you. The next practice is to have inner monologue in English. We all have that little voice inside our heads, right? Instead of using your native language, start to speak to your inner self in English. For example, you're going to make a breakfast for yourself. So you want to speak English in your mind. You're gonna say, I'm gonna make some coffee. I need eggs, bread, and butter. Or maybe you're, getting ready to go to the work and you think something like, what should I wear? Maybe that blue shirt? At first, it might feel a little awkward or slow, but trust me, gradually it will become more natural and you will speak faster. And you'll notice that you're thinking in English without trying. The next step or the next practice is to learn phrases, not just words. One of the best ways to avoid translating is to learn English phrases, not just only English words. Because when you learn English phrases or English sentences, it gives you a sense of how English is actually spoken. So instead of just memorizing the word go and then you want to go to the store, you have to think, how can I say it in English? How can I say that I want to go to the store? Instead of just memorizing the word go alone, you can memorize the phrase, I want to go to the store. The full phrase. The more common phrases you know, the easier it will be to think in English. You can find common phrases on YouTube, different applications and tools, and of course, books. You have to just look for them. The fifth step or the fifth exercise is to practice with timed exercises. Here, I have a fun challenge for you. Set a timer for 1 or 2 minutes and then start speaking English right away and try not to stop. You have to speak out loud and you can talk about anything you want. You could talk about your day, your work, your friends, your meetings, your family, your favorite book, or whatever. Just try to speak and try not to stop for 1 or 2 minutes. This exercise forces your brain to think quickly in English. It's okay if it's not perfect because we're not looking for perfection in this exercise. Just want to, train your brain to think quicker than usual. Over time or gradually, you can, expand the time and, set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes and we'll see how much easier it becomes to express yourself in English. The sixth practice or the sixth exercise is to immerse yourself in English. Immersion is a great key to think in any languages when you're learning them. Even if you're like me and you're not living in an English-speaking country, it's still easy and possible to immerse, to surround yourself with English stuff. You can watch TV, you can listen to podcasts, and you can watch YouTube videos or whatever you want. You can listen to the songs, you can read books if you're a book lover and you read lots of books. My advice is try to find those books in English and read them in English. The more you expose your brain to English, the easier it gets to think in English, to speak in English. The final advice and the final step is to be patient and confident. It's the most important tip of all, patience and confidence. There are both two important terms you need in the process of learning a language, of learning anything, I can say. But mostly when you're learning a language, when you're learning English, you have to be patient, you have to practice regularly, and you have to be confident, even if you're making mistakes. So the more you practice these steps that I told you in this video, the easier it gets to think in English and to speak in English as a result. If you have any tips that worked for you to start thinking in English, I'd be happy to see your comments and it will help others a lot. Thanks for watching and see you next time.